The window pane rattled softly with each gust of rain against the glass. Boston in September isn't bone-chilling like winter, but the damp chill was enough to make my small apartment feel even more desolate. On the chipped wooden table, a tiny cupcake sat alone, a single unlit white candle stuck in its center. I stared at it, as if my gaze could spark a flame without a match. Of course, that never happens. My name is Madison Blake, but everyone calls me Maddie, and today I turn 30. People say 30 is a major milestone, a steady career, a stable family, friends gathered around. And me? Alone in my small apartment, facing a cupcake bought hastily from a nearby shop, my phone silent despite checking it dozens of times. Not a single text, not a single call from my parents, Harold and Margot, or even a birthday wish from my younger sister Chloe. I had hoped, truly hoped, for even a simple message. Happy birthday, Maddie. But the screen only lit up to reflect my face. Pale, lifeless. The clock's hands ticked coldly. 8 p.m. Officially, my 30th birthday had passed in silence. I opened my phone and scrolled through Instagram, a self-inflicted wound I knew would hurt, but I couldn't resist. And there it was, as expected, a new post from Chloe. She stood on a brightly lit stage from last night's concert, her smile radiant, hands poised on the piano keys. Over 80 likes in just an hour, with a flood of adoring comments. At the top, two familiar lines. Our shining star. My mom. So proud of my girl. My dad. Those two short sentences for years were never meant for me. I bit my lip hard. 30 years, and it's still the same. I closed my eyes and memories pulled me back. I was 10, wearing a pink dress my grandmother sent me. I sat in the living room, eyes fixed on the door, waiting for my parents to come in singing Happy Birthday. But my mom rushed past, bag in hand, saying, "Hurry up, we'll be late for Chloe's performance." I mumbled, "What about my birthday party?" My dad patted my shoulder, eyes on his watch. "Next weekend, sweetheart." That weekend never came. That day, I learned to fade into the shadows. I became the kid who always smiled brightly at my sister's performances, always took photos, always clapped the loudest. Slowly, I disappeared in my own home. A tear slid down my phone screen, blurring Chloe's sparkling piano. I wiped it away quickly, my hands trembling. I'm 30, not that 10-year-old anymore, I told myself. So why did this wound still hurt so much? I looked at the cupcake. The chocolate had hardened from sitting too long. The white candle stood cold, indifferent. I hesitated. Should I light it and sing to myself, or just ignore it, pretend today didn't exist? The question spun in my head like a dull blade, painful and persistent. Part of me wanted to rage, to scream at the world, "I'm their daughter too. Why is it always just Chloe?" But another part, the one used to enduring, whispered, "Let it go. You're used to this. Stop expecting." The feeling of being erased from my family's memory for 30 years had become a habit, but every habit has its limit. Tonight, I reached that limit. Tonight, I saw the truth clearly. I didn't want to live as a shadow anymore. The rain outside stopped abruptly, leaving an eerie silence. I heard my heartbeat, faster, stronger, urging me forward. I looked in the mirror and saw a woman with tired eyes, but deep in that gaze was an unusual spark. For the first time in my life, I whispered aloud, my voice shaky but resolute, "If they never remember, I'll remember myself." I don't know if you've ever felt forgotten in your own family. That mix of pain, shame, and the urge to vanish. If you have, I know you understand the weight I'm carrying. Ask yourself, if one day you realize no one remembered your birthday, what would you do? Keep silent, or find a way to light your own candle. Have you ever had a moment when disappointment piled up so high that you ran out of tears, leaving only a cold emptiness? My 30th birthday night was that moment. When the clock struck 9 p.m., the apartment remained silent. The cupcake was cold, the phone lifeless. I knew I had to do something. If I kept sitting here, I'd stay trapped in my family's shadow forever. I opened my laptop, my hands trembling with both sorrow and determination. The screen flashed a number, $97,342.16. My savings from years as an interior architect, plus a hefty bonus from a recent hotel project. It wasn't a fortune compared to some, but to me, it was proof of countless sleepless nights, of working twice as hard just to be seen. A wild but clear thought sparked. I'll give myself a birthday gift, a big one. I grabbed my phone and dialed the Audi dealership in downtown Boston. My heart pounded as it rang. A young man's voice answered. Hello, this is Audi Boston, Trevor speaking. How can I help you? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. I want to buy a car, a silver Q7 today. A brief silence on the other end made me second-guess myself. Maybe they thought I was joking. But then Trevor replied, surprised but professional. Ma'am, we have a few models in the showroom. If you're serious, we're open until 10 p.m. Can you come now? I'll be there, I said quickly, afraid I'd changed my mind. I threw on a coat, leaving the cupcake and unlit candle behind. The rain continued, each drop challenging my resolve. The road from my apartment to downtown shimmered with headlight reflections, rain streaking like silver silk. Driving my old Toyota, I felt like I was about to leave part of my past behind. When the showroom's glass doors opened, I was overwhelmed. Bright white light bounced off glossy tiles. Luxury cars lined up like works of art. My heart raced with excitement and unease. I'd designed interiors for lavish hotels, but in this world, I felt small. Trevor approached, tall, in a crisp white shirt with a friendly smile. You're the one who called, looking at the Q7, right? I nodded. He led me to a corner where a silver Audi Q7 stood quietly, gleaming like it stepped out of a painting. I ran my hand over its cold, smooth surface, the sensation rippling through me. In that moment, I wasn't the forgotten child or the lonely 30-year-old woman. I felt strong, independent, worthy. Want to take it for a spin? Trevor asked. I shook my head, my voice firm. No need, this is the one I want. He looked surprised, but led me to the paperwork room. The finance staff asked, how would you like to pay? I took a deep breath and said, I'll put down $60,000 in cash, the rest on installments. They glanced at me with a mix of astonishment, then quickly processed the paperwork. As my pen signed the final document, my hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the feeling of signing a new chapter of my life. When Trevor handed me the keys, the cold metal felt heavy and warm in my palm. A birthday gift to myself. A silent declaration. I don't need anyone's validation. I'll validate myself. I drove the Audi out of the showroom. Boston's night sparkled through the windows. Streetlights reflected off the silver paint like falling stars. The engine's smooth, powerful hum felt like I was driving my life onto a new path. Near my apartment, I stopped at a park along the Charles River. The rain had eased, water droplets on the hood sparkling like diamonds. I took my phone, snapped a few photos, framing the shot with Boston's skyline in the background. I posted on Instagram with a simple caption, Happy birthday to me, dream car, dream life. My finger trembled as I hit post. Notifications flooded in, likes, comments, friends and colleagues chimed in. Madison, amazing! Happy birthday, you deserve it all. My heart sank. Strange how people further away remembered me, while my closest family forgot. I sat in the car, leaning back, eyes welling up. Never had it been clearer than tonight. If I didn't cherish myself, no one would. My phone's ringtone shattered the silence. The screen showed Mom. My heart stopped. Finally, my mom. I answered, trembling, still clinging to a shred of hope. Maybe she'd say, Happy birthday, sweetheart. But her first words were cold and sharp. Madison Jean Blake, that car, where did you get the money? I froze. No happy birthday, no, I'm sorry we forgot. Just a suspicious, accusing question. In that moment, every tear, every flicker of hope was snuffed out. But deep in my heart, another flame began to burn. What would you think if you were me, celebrating your birthday with a big gift to yourself, only to get a cold, questioning call from your mom? Would you stay silent and endure, or stand up for your own worth? If you find this story compelling, comment Y. If not, comment N. Because in the next chapter, I'll tell you about the tensest dinner of my life, where I brought a cake labeled "From me to me" and faced my entire family. Have you ever walked into a familiar house and suddenly felt like a stranger? That's how I felt that day. My new Audi Q7 pulled up in front of the house in Belmont, where I grew up, where I ran through the garden in childhood summers. But today, that heavy wooden door felt like a fortress wall, separating me from what's called family. My mom called last night, her voice cold and commanding. "Tomorrow, family dinner, 6 sharp. We need to talk." Not an invitation, but a verdict already passed. I stepped out of the car, clutching a small box, a cake I'd ordered, with neat lettering on top. "Happy birthday, Madison, from me to me." Yes, I brought it deliberately, like a weapon. Not to provoke, but to remind them of the truth they always avoided. My dad opened the door. His eyes flicked past me, lingering on the Audi in the driveway. He frowned, crossing his arms. "That's your car? Looks expensive." "Yes," I replied curtly. I offered no explanation. He wanted an apology or justification, but I wasn't giving him that power anymore. I brushed past, holding the cake, and walked straight to the dining room. The room glowed under a crystal chandelier. The long walnut table, polished to a shine, was draped in a crisp white cloth. The fine china my mom only used for special occasions was set out. Ironic, never once in 30 years had it appeared for my birthday. If you want to hear more stories and struggles like mine and feel a connection, you can check out my previous videos on this channel. Chloe was already seated. My sister, with her lightly curled hair and sparkling eyes, always camera ready. She looked at me, her smile half friendly, half awkward. "Nice car, sis. Didn't expect you to go that big." Her tone held a hint of admiration, but also a trace of unease. My mom brought out a tray of roast, forcing a smile. "Come on, Maddie, sit. Let's eat and talk." I set the cake box at the head of the table and took my seat. Throughout dinner, no one mentioned my birthday. They talked about the weather, the neighbors, Chloe's latest concert. My dad, slicing his meat, lectured. "Young lady, buying a luxury car isn't a small thing. You're young, you need to learn to save. Cars lose value, they're not smart investments." I picked at my salad, chewing slowly, letting his words pass like a breeze. Inside, resentment built like lava waiting to erupt. My mom avoided my gaze, fussing with plates. Chloe giggled, tossing out casual remarks, clearly relishing the attention still centered on her. As dinner neared its end, I stood up. My heart pounded, but my voice was calm. Maybe now's a good time to share something. I placed the cake box in the center of the table and opened it. The lettering glowed under the light. "Happy birthday, Madison. From me to me." The table went silent. My mom covered her mouth. Chloe's eyes widened. My dad frowned. "What? Are you doing this to guilt trip us?" I looked straight at him, for the first time in years, not lowering my gaze. Not to guilt trip, to remind. For 30 years, my birthday has never been remembered. Meanwhile, every one of Chloe's milestones is celebrated like a grand event. I took a deep breath and continued. My 16th birthday, I got a cheap grocery store cake, while Chloe had a party with 50 guests. My 20th, you all went on a trip to celebrate Chloe's graduation, leaving me to house sit. My 25th, I won my first architecture award, but no one asked. And last night, my 30th, no wishes, no texts. My mom started crying, her voice trembling. "Maddie, we didn't mean to, it's not about intent or accident, it's the truth. 30 years of truth," I cut in. I turned to Chloe, my tone softening. "I don't blame you for being favored. But do you know, Chloe, I was always in the front row at your concerts, clapping the loudest. I told myself, if I can't shine, at least I'll be the supporting light. But today, I realized I don't have to stay in anyone's shadow." Chloe looked down, clutching her spoon, a flicker of shame in her eyes. My dad cleared his throat, trying to reclaim authority. "You talk like we never cared. We raised you, gave you a good education. You owe us respect." I replied calmly. "Respect goes both ways. I've respected myself, which is why I'm standing here saying this. I don't need anyone to make up for it anymore. I've claimed my own worth." The room fell silent. Only the clock's ticking cut through, each second like a blade slicing through years of avoidance and denial. My mom buried her face in a napkin. My dad stared at the table, and Chloe sat mute, lips pressed tight. I stood, giving a faint smile, part pain, part liberation. "This cake is my gift to you all. A reminder that sometimes you have to celebrate yourself to know your own worth." I turned and walked out of the dining room. Behind me, no one spoke. For the first time, They had to face the raw truth. In this family, a daughter had been forgotten for 30 years. Do you believe that after confrontations that seem to shatter everything, a small crack of light can emerge? I didn't believe it until a few days after that fateful dinner in Belmont. 3 days passed, and my phone buzzed constantly with texts from my mom. Maddie, I'm sorry we forgot. We didn't mean to. Then, I just want our family to be whole. Those words were like thin gauze over a wound bleeding for 30 years. Useless. My dad was different. He sent one curt message. Family is more important than misunderstandings. I read it over and over, finding no accountability, just his usual attempt to maintain control. To him, it was all just a misunderstanding, never a responsibility. I decided not to respond to either. I needed silence for myself. On Wednesday morning, as I prepped files for a new design project, my phone lit up again. This time it was Chloe. Her message was brief. Sis, can we grab coffee this afternoon? I need to talk. I stared at it for a long time. For years, our meetups revolved around her successes, concerts, award ceremonies, or showing off a new dress. Never once had Chloe said she needed to talk. I hesitated, then typed back, okay. We met at a small cafe on Newbury Street, bustling with students and tourists. The air carried the scent of fresh roasted coffee and pastries, warm and comforting. I chose a table by the window, where I could see the maples turning red and orange. Chloe arrived 10 minutes late. Still the same, elegant dress, loosely curled hair, drawing eyes as she entered. But her face was different today, less proud, more hesitant. Thanks for coming, she said, sitting down, eyes fixed on her coffee. I nodded, waiting silently. The air between us was thick. Finally, Chloe sighed. Sis. At dinner, I realized. I never noticed how much you've endured. I looked up, catching her gaze. For the first time, not the usual radiant sparkle, but sincerity mixed with regret. I always thought you were fine. You were quiet, always at my concerts, clapping the loudest. I thought that meant you didn't need attention. Her words stung. All those years in the shadows, summed up as fine. I pressed my lips together, listening, letting her finish. Chloe continued, her voice shaky. I was too caught up in my own spotlight. All the attention went to me, and I enjoyed it, but I never asked how you felt. I'm so sorry. Her apology wasn't grand or dramatic, but it reached the deepest part of my heart. I wanted to cry and laugh at once. For 30 years, I waited for acknowledgement, and now it came from the person I thought would never see it. I placed my hand on the table, my voice steady. Chloe, I don't blame you for being favored. You didn't choose that. But you know, every time I clapped for you, I was proud and heartbroken. Because I realized I'd probably spend my life watching you shine while I stayed dim. Chloe bit her lip, her eyes glistening. I don't want you to feel that way anymore. I want to change. I want to be a better sister. I sat still, letting her words sink in. For the first time, I saw a crack in the invisible wall between us, built by favoritism, silence, and envy. It wasn't wide enough for light to flood in, but enough to show me. Maybe not all was hopeless. We talked a bit more, not much, but lighter than any conversation before. When we left, Chloe hugged me, an awkward but genuine embrace. She whispered, I want you to believe that from now on, I'll listen. I nodded slightly, making no promises, but my heart felt lighter. That night, driving the Audi home, I watched the trees along the road reflect the streetlights. My heart was still tangled. Sadness for 30 lost years, anger at my parents' unacknowledged faults. But somewhere, I felt something new. Hope. For the first time I thought, maybe the wall of 30 years has a crack. Do you believe a car can change a relationship between two people? I never thought so until that autumn afternoon when a text from Chloe popped up on my screen. Sis, can you drive me to Symphony Hall? I don't want to go alone. I stared at the message for a long time. Just a week ago, we sat in that Newbury Street cafe where Chloe admitted she'd been selfish. I thought that talk was just a small crack, not enough to shift the thick wall between us. Yet today, Chloe reached out, not to boast about a win, but to ask for help. I texted back, sure, I'll pick you up at 6. Boston in autumn was breathtaking. As I pulled the Audi out of the lot, The late afternoon sun slanted through maples turning red and gold. Commonwealth Avenue stretched like a vibrant ribbon, leaves falling gently in the breeze, sticking to the windshield before being swept away. I realized, sometimes, a new chapter needs the right space and time. Maybe today was that moment. Chloe waited outside her high-rise apartment, her evening gown hugging her frame, hair loosely curled. Instead of her usual confident smile, her lips were tight, her eyes hesitant as the Audi pulled up. She slid into the passenger seat, her hand brushing the new leather. "This car is gorgeous. I still can't get used to you owning it." I laughed, starting the engine. "I'm not used to it either. But sometimes, you need a gift to remind yourself you're worth it." We were quiet for a few minutes, only the engine's soft hum and the faint jazz playing in the car filling the space. The city passed by, golden lights flickering on. The air between us still held distance, but it wasn't as cold as before. Chloe spoke softly, quieter than usual. "Sis, I have something to say, but I'm afraid you'll laugh." I glanced at her, offering a reassuring smile. "I won't laugh, go ahead." Chloe turned to the window, streetlights reflecting on her cheek, shimmering like unshed tears. "Everyone thinks I have it all, the spotlight, the applause, mom and dad's attention. But really, I'm scared. I'm terrified that one day the light will vanish, and I'll have nothing. I'm jealous of you, because even when no one noticed, you stood strong, moving forward on your own. I wish I could be that resilient." Her confession left me speechless. For years, I saw Chloe as the star, always at the center of every celebration. I never imagined that behind her glow was such fragile fear. I kept my hand steady on the wheel, replying softly, "You know, Chloe, everyone has weaknesses. You're scared of losing the light. I'm scared I'll never be enough, never be seen. But maybe we don't need to compete to prove anything. Maybe we can lift each other up." Chloe turned to me, her eyes red. She shakily reached for my hand on the gear shift. "I'm sorry, Maddie. I've been so selfish all these years. I don't want us to be rivals. I want us to be real sisters." In that moment, the Audi became a sealed box holding raw truths, where words we never dared say were finally set free. I felt her hand tremble in mine, and instinctively I squeezed it, a silent forgiveness. Boylston Street opened before us, neon lights from shops reflecting on the Audi's silver paint. In the rearview mirror, I saw two sisters, one who learned to claim her own worth, one just beginning to see her own vulnerability, sitting together in a car gliding through a glowing city. I thought quietly, maybe this is the real new beginning. Have you ever woken up on your birthday feeling entirely different from years past? No longer fearing being forgotten, no longer preparing a cupcake to fill the void. This morning I felt that. My phone buzzed before I could even brush my hair. The screen lit up with a text from my dad. "Happy birthday, Maddie. Hope you have a beautiful day." Short, awkward, but to me, a turning point. In 30 years, he'd never remembered on his own. Before I could process it, a knock came at my door. A delivery person handed me a bouquet of white lilies with a card. "Love you, Mom. Thank you for giving us a chance to make things right." I clutched the flowers, my heart swelling. It didn't stop there. At the office, my desk was covered in balloons and a cake. Colleagues sang happy birthday in unison, young Ben raising a glass of wine. To Maddie, who just landed our biggest project this year. Laughter and applause blended into a joyful symphony. I smiled, no longer shying away, but embracing it confidently. At noon, Chloe stopped by. She hugged me tightly, then handed me a small box wrapped in shimmering silver paper. Inside was a framed photo of us by the Audi Q7, Boston's night sparkling behind us. We were beaming, our smiles free of distance. Under the frame, she wrote neatly, "For the sister who found her own direction." I choked up. These tears weren't bitter like before. They were sweet, warm. I hugged her, feeling the sincerity I'd once desperately longed for. That evening, back in my apartment, I stood before the mirror. The silver compass necklace Chloe gave me last Christmas rested in my palm. I slipped it on, looking at my reflection. A woman who'd survived 30 years of being overlooked, now standing at 31 with a new calm confidence. I thought back to the gleaming Audi Q7 in the showroom last year. Back then, it was a rebellious declaration, my way of shouting to the world, "I exist. I'm worthy." But today I realized that car wasn't just a symbol of self-worth. It was a bridge. Because of it, Chloe and I had that fateful drive on Commonwealth Avenue where she confessed her fears, and we held hands as true sisters for the first time. Because of it, my parents began to see the distance they'd created over decades. The Audi didn't change them, but it changed me. And when I changed, my family had to see me differently. That night, I turned off all the lights, leaving only the glow of candles on the small cake my colleagues gave me. I wasn't alone with a cold cupcake like last year. My phone buzzed with messages from friends, calls with well wishes, and most importantly, a family starting to learn to see me. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, sometimes to change a family, you just need the courage to light your own candle. The candlelight flickered in the mirror, no longer the lonely flame of 30, but a guiding light for a hopeful 31. Maybe after hearing my full story, you've realized something too. Sometimes the biggest changes don't start with family or others, but with the moment you dare to claim your own worth. The Audi I bought wasn't just a material gift. It was a symbol of self-respect, of the courage to light a candle in the dark. From that choice, I not only found myself but opened a new path to mend ties with my family, to make them learn to see me with respect, and for me to learn to forgive with calm strength. I believe we've all felt overlooked or undervalued at some point. But remember, you have the right to define your own worth, and that persistence can make those around you change. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and don't forget to follow the channel to join me in more stories ahead.